So let's begin with our discussions here. And the first stakeholder that I would like to talk about are our students. In evaluating the institutional effectiveness, NAC recognizes the pivotal role of students not only as the main stakeholders, but also central to the entire process of educational experience that an institution can provide. Today's students, however, have a different profile. They are much more well informed, they are much more committed, participative, and if I may say, they're quite eager to provide feedback and participate in honest discussions. So, my first question would be to you, Dr. Karolia. How should an HEI leverage this involvement of students, the key stakeholders in any institution, in the entire process of quality assurance, sustenance, and even enhancement processes of an education institution? Some thoughts, experiences, initiatives that you may have done at your institute, ma'am, to leverage this involvement of students. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Panchali, and a very good morning to everyone who's here. Good to see Deepali and Jagmeet both. So let's see what we can together give this panel. You're quite right, Panchali, and I really want to take this question from a little different perspective. As a moderator, you rightly said that the students today are well-informed, they are committed, they are participative, and because of this, the responsibility and the onus of fulfilling the aspirations of our main stakeholder, that is the students, is on the academia and the teachers. So the planning of, the most important is planning of a robust curriculum. The right pedagogy for imparting the syllabus is again most important. And student-centric methodologies need to be used, like, just the last panel I was listening to. And so experiential learning is one thing that, you could incorporate into most of your skill-based programs that you have. Participative learning, that, have a number of debates, seminars, have some kind of a more interactive kind of classes that you conduct with your students. And problem-solving methodologies should be used basically for learning enhancement of these students. Gone are the days when you have a curriculum, you go with them and you just impart your lectures to the students and you come back. It's very important, like we always tell our teachers over here, it's very important that you explain why they're learning a particular part in this particular program that they are studying. What is the necessity? Where would they use it? Once they go on to their, onto their jobs, onto their workforce, where would this be useful to them? Where is it going to come in use? Because they want to know that. That is, I think, what is the most important part of it. So saying that, at our institute over here, like the way we are looking and we take back we get a feedback from our students, of course, on a regular basis. But one important thing is that, like how we handle it at our university or in our faculty, we have this advisory system where every 20 students have an advisor. So, and for the feedback, for every course that is taught to them, there is a feedback taken at the end of the semester, not by the teacher herself, but by the advisors for the various courses that they've learned in that semester. So that is the way and the feedback is basically on a whole lot of issues about, how the subject was taught, what was their take back with it? Do they think that this particular subject was important in the course of study that they have come here for, the program that they have come for? Even the preparedness of the teacher, the kind of evaluation that was done. Evaluation, again, forms a very important part of the whole, the assessment of the way the assessment was done for them. Were they informed about the assessments before? So there are a whole lot of these kind of questions which, the teachers should be prepared with before they go for class or before they start taking that particular. So these are some of the things that are, taken into account. They are collected, and then whatever the head of the department will go through the whole, the reports that are compiled by the teachers. And then, some kind of if needed, there would be some kind of an action that would be taken. Also looking into just not the way that the course has been taught, but also what they found missing in a particular course. So when we go for the next board of studies, we are able to take that forward. Even the feedback that the teachers get normally in class. So during our meetings, we have that, the students are not enjoying this part. This is the part that is, getting a bit too, not really boring, but it's not being taken very well by the students. So whether it could be improved in the way we are teaching it, or whether we could change that particular part in our curriculum. So when we go for our board of studies, the changes happen in. So there's a feedback at every level. First, of course, at the teacher and the student level, when they're just in normal classroom interaction. Then at the end of the course, when they complete after their semesters are over and the semester examinations are over. And then, of course, with the advisors, with their students, they also get a kind of feedback from them. So I think that is the important part of it. And the experiential learning and all, or maybe we could, take that. I was thinking I would include that in some other part of it. So as to how we do it, we can get to that later after I think the other panelists, take the same question.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I totally relate to the points that you mentioned here. One, that our students are much more vocal, so their aspirations have to be met, and they make sure that we go ahead and have to do that. Otherwise, they are again going to give that kind of a feedback, which is exactly what quality education should be. It has to be a reciprocal association between the faculty and the student, and unless that is being established, we cannot provide a successful teaching learning environment in an institute. I think to build on to this topic, I'll invite my next panelist, Dr. Deepali Singh, who's the principal of a very elite college, caters to a different segment of the society. I hear that the students, the parent community, I would say all the stakeholders are eager to provide their feedback on every aspect of education, whether it's evaluation, curriculum, assessments, and to a certain extent, I would say that involvement is welcome, but where do you see the involvement infringing the border of getting into the way of governance and leadership and managing what is supposed to be the integrity of an academic institution? What are your thoughts, Dr. Deepali, on this?
Thank you, Dr. Moitra. And we've had this little chit chat. Now, you see, there's before we, begin with, and I put in my thought process, because I'll try to give you from my experience in this part of the country. You see, home science, as a stream has not really grown in this part, especially West Bengal. And I would like to mention this to members present here. They'll be quite surprised with having such a large number of home science colleges strewn all over the country. We just have 2 in West Bengal. And that also, we've kind of shut the doors to home science because of the dwindling numbers, and it had become at a point of time quite difficult to survive. But yes, the elements of home science is so deeply embedded in our curriculum that we still consider ourselves to be home scientists. And that's the biggest challenge that we face. And as I was sharing with you, the students being very vocal because they have no other platform to kind of judge of what is happening. Even as you know, the industry is not really, a forte of our government. We have very little to offer in terms of job in industries. Keeping that in mind, we feel that, the parents and the students who are the major stakeholders, students definitely, they are the main stakeholders, I would say. And as we move on to the parents, definitely, since they would be providing or supporting the education of their child, they in turn become the stakeholders. Their involvement in certain levels definitely is desirable, because that will kind of give us inputs to how we can improve and progress. So, for example, students' feedback as we take, feedbacks can be taken in various quarters. And in our college, we have a very exclusive system of taking feedback, not now. We've been doing it for the last at least 17, 18 years. We have appointed an external agency to collect the feedback. You see, students, if they know that anybody is involved from the college in collecting the feedback, they tend not to give the feedback, absolutely. The discreetness is going to give a feedback which probably would be more accurate. So we have this external agency. They come at the end of every semester, and there is a one-to-one interaction. Students fill up the forms anonymously, and the forms are handed over. A statistical analysis is done for the entire college. And that report individually for every teacher is submitted to the college, which is distributed to the teachers. And at their annual appraisal time, we have a management appraisal at the end of every semester. Apart from the teachers, they submit their PABAS. Based on that, we have this annual appraisal. During the appraisal, the feedback is discussed, and a teacher can locate herself vis-a-vis the other teachers in the college as to, like the statistical analysis would also, kind of indicate that which are your 3 most strong points and your 3 areas which needs attention compared to the rest. And they place you in a statistical category so you can actually identify yourself. So one good practice, I feel, is this feedback being collected in an anonymous manner so that the students, are not really they feel comfortable to give the feedback. Now, the feedback, as I told you, is collected not only on the teachers, it's also collected for the institute. So that kind of guides us what needs to be done. With the CBCS curriculum, it has given the students a chance, as Dr. Karolia had very rightly put in, that it's very important that the students know what they are studying and where they are going to apply this. This is a kind of a gap that we are facing in many areas of education today. But if this gap can be bridged, I think the satisfaction, the stakeholder satisfaction would be of great value. Because in that case, a student will be, whatever is he or she is expecting is what he or she is going to get. So keeping that in mind, the CBCS curriculum, is supposed to be something which is very interesting, but most colleges are unable to actually, realize the objectives why the CBCS was put in place. But in our college, we are allowing students to select their subjects, so they can intermix subjects between, say, finance, marketing, if it's another department. But yes, for the subjects related to home science, they can make their own mixes, as they call it. They can have their own mix. But then this guidance as to which paper they should select and what would be the outcome is something that, we take pride in, because we try to explain to them, and then, the selection of the papers is done. So that kind of empowers them, because they know that this is what I want to do, and that flexibility has been provided to me. Another way of empowering them and bringing out their leadership qualities in terms of giving a proper feedback for the betterment of the institute definitely is this feeling of ownership, how you feel about the college, and how you can, kind of given your best to your institute, both as a student and when you become an alumni, to your alma mater. This kind of keeps your motivation very high. And we have tried not just, the delivery of the curriculum. Most of the institutes more or less have a similar system. They will make plans, the lecture plans will be executed. They will be kind of monitored at these stages of implementations. And at the end, there will be a feedback taken to see if they have been implemented and what is the outcome and things like that. But how do we make it student-centric? How do we make these courses a little more, experientially, like those, as we call it, the experiential learning bit of it. So at our institute, something which I'll share with all of you, I'm not sure whether it is possible for everyone to replicate, But for us, this has been a boon. We have a mandatory educational excursion every year. So it is conducted in between the 5th and the 6th semesters, and it is mandatory. Everybody has to go, and the fee is incorporated in their 4th semester payment. So everything is planned. And this trip is about 5 to 7 days. It varies, and it is not in a local area. It is outside the state of West Bengal, mostly. Then we travel together with all the departments, and each department chalks out a day-to-day plan to visit various factories, various organizations, meet people, and have a lot of interaction. It's an absolutely packed 6 to 7 day program. And this kind of, takes the students out of their own state, gets them into the place where they are, their prospective, working place, because many of our students later on have moved in to work in these areas, and kind of tells them about their own country. So this experiential learning is, many colleges are following, but we found that this is one of the most interesting part of our course delivery. Field visits within the city, definitely it's done on a weekly basis. So every department keeps taking students out for their weekly visit. And scholarships and free ships, most colleges follow. But we have two very interesting, student supportive services. One is the awards. Now, this is something which is very, I'm actually not covering up what Dr. Karolia has already said, something which is additional I'm trying to put in. In our college, we have this awarding system, not just for meritorious students, even for small things like the best seminar, the best project, the best library user for all that matter. We keep a watch on the students, and the librarians kind of mark them. The involvement of the librarian is there. And we have the best library user. We have 100% attendance awards, and the list goes on. So, that way we motivate the students, and they can, pick up these small awards. Recently, we have started one system of documenting their performance in co-curricular and extracurricular activities. And that is that at the end of every academic session, a student has to submit an activity form, which kind of says what he or she has done for an activity. And that document is kept with the college. At the end of the 3 years of their study, that document, is stamped and returned to them for their records. So that kind of gives them a certificate telling them that these are the activities or the events that they've participated in. During the pandemic, we had held, this was in the period of 2019-20, the first part of the pandemic. We had conducted over 170 seminars across all the 6 departments. And we had made a consolidated certificate for the students. So the student who attended the seminars had a semester-wise certificate given to them that you've attended this seminars. This was the total duration of the seminar. So later on, once they move into the credit system, and if this could be converted into some form of credits, it will be kind of useful to them. And we have this earn while you learn scheme, although we don't have too many students coming in, but, we've involved them in the library. So what we are doing, the old magazines, before we discard them, we have students who can opt out. They can go at any time when they are free to the library processing zone. And these old magazines are given to them for, kind of removing the records and storing them as small informations in a kind of a scrapbook that each department makes. And the total hours are, we keep a track of the total hours put in by the students. And at the end, they are given a remuneration from the college for the services rendered, which is very minimal. But for a student, it is something that they've earned while they were studying. These are some examples that I have shared with you. And this really goes in a long way in empowering them and bringing about that ownership, that feeling of ownership.
Yes, I totally agree. I think this is a 360-degree look at how do you not only build ownership, how do you meet the aspirations, how do you make them industry ready, at the same time ensure that they feel part of the community that they are there. So I have noted down several, as Dr. Karolia talked about, which is an amazing way of ensuring that the feedback and evaluation system is impartial, unbiased, and it's able to deliver what it's set to deliver. Dr. Singhee, you've talked about quite a few brilliant initiatives, and this is precisely the premise of this panel discussion, where we are sharing our own initiatives so that we can build upon each other's learnings and then incorporate some of them which are contextually okay and works brilliantly in our own setting there. So that educational retreat one is my favorite, and let me be very honest, because I think that's something which is very important, not only for the students, but also for the faculty and the community and all the stakeholders to interact, to spend some time together. And that's the best environment to elicit honest feedback here. So thank you so much for sharing all of these initiatives and thoughts with us. Since we're talking about students, I'll just ask maybe one more question to our next panelist, that's Dr. Jagmeet Madan. Ma'am, as the main stakeholders, students definitely have a much stronger voice than any other stakeholder. So we have talked about different initiatives of engaging students to build on their leadership competencies and skills for quality education. So what are some initiatives that can be done, or what are some opportunities that can be provided to the student for their own personal growth and progression? And what has SVT College of Home Science been doing in this area? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you, Panchali. I think this has been really brilliant. And at the outset, thank you, Professor Anjali and Dr. Deepali. I've interacted with you on one-on-one on many forums. And I've also visited your institution, and I had an interaction, very close interaction with Dr. Deepali's students as well. Maybe that was virtual. So I completely, relate and empathize with what you said. And, the credibility and the repute of the two institutions which you head. So I place on record first that. So Panchali, adding to what all has been said, I just want to put in context that, we have to look at the mindset of the student. So when you say an academic mindset, it will entail academic content, critical thinking, problem solving, collaborative working, effective communication, and learning how to learn. Okay, this is like a very theoretical academic mindset. Now, from here, what I would like to pick most is the the parameters which push the student to a growth mindset. And like yesterday we were having a very brilliant interaction, and Father Fraser, who was the ex-principal of Xavier's College, St. Xavier's is known for the overall development which it brings to the table for the student. And he said that, the first step for students' competency development is the connect with the student. So he said you have to take them on board at every level, and with times, of course, all of us have been in the field of education for the last 3 decades. I mean, I have seen a sea change in the whole attitude of students, in these last 3 decades. So today's students are students who are not satisfied with just an academic content. I think what he said is that, and especially the virtual reality has made it so starkly clear that if you're just going to show a PPT to the student, they are not interested. Okay, so they will say, ma'am, you give your PPT, we will go read it at our leisure. So don't waste our 1 hour, investing this on a virtual class. So I think, they have pushed and raised the bar for the teachers that you have to think differently for every single class. And that's the reason today, teachers complain, I don't know whether the students are there or no, they are not responding, they are, we have no connect. So I think all these episodes in our life have taught us that our students are our first teachers. Today's students are actually our teachers. They exactly tell you what they want, how they want, what they're liking, what they're not liking. Okay, so they are very, very honest and transparent. And to my mind, as a person sitting at the helm of an institution, I think the first thing is that we have to respect what they are saying, what they are wanting. And I think we have to view this, and I talk on behalf of my entire fraternity. Students' feedback has to be taken with a very open mind. So the more open you are to accept criticism from the students, I think the better connect we will make with the student. So somewhere I feel, ask them, how are you being taught? Whether we do it through mentors, we are all following those systems wherein basically we want to connect to each and every student. Now here, I just want to bring another flavor to the discussion that, in our institution, Dr. Karolia and Dr. Deepali, what I have seen in the last couple of years, there are many first generation learners. Okay, so they come from families where the mother would be a housemaid, or whether the father is a daily wage earner, is an auto rickshaw driver. But all these people are considering education as a priority. So that's why these kids have come in to higher education. But this is a double-edged sword, because this student who's coming to college is getting a facility to get higher education. But, at the back end, the parents have no idea as to what the student is doing, whether she's doing what she's desired to be doing, or whether she's going and just whiling away her time and doing something else which is not desirable. So somewhere, connect with these students, we have realized, has become all the more important, because they have different kinds of challenges. We have PTAs, and very often we find that some of these parents don't even turn up for these meetings. Why? Because they can't read the notices, they can't read the mails, the students are not in a position to communicate. And we've had cases, wherein the mothers or the parents have come back and said that she leaves the house for the college, but we don't know, whether she is achieving what she is leaving the house for, going to college. So that is another aspect which is building up now. One more thing which is very peculiar to the kind of students which we get is that, we do find a lot of students from conservative families, especially like Muslim families, or, the families wherein probably the girls were not given that kind of freedom to come forward and educate. But today I'm heartened that, 50 to 60% of our students are coming from these backgrounds. And maybe they feel that, it's a women's university, it's an all women's college. So maybe the comfort level is there. But what needs to be appreciated is that they are also prioritizing education. And let me admit in this forum that many of these students are brilliant. They are so intelligent. But sometimes, connect with these students again has to have a different flavor, because the parents of these students may not want the child to go for higher education. And they would just like the child to get married. So there has been, so this is a different kind of connect with the student. So why I brought this conversation is that connect with the student is not only at the level of academics, cultural growth, whatever kind of activities which we do with them, but connect with them is also putting ourselves in their shoes and understanding what are their challenges, and then finding solutions towards that. And I would like to also highlight one or two more things about our institution. We take pride in mentoring. Okay, and especially we have a family and child enrichment center, which is manned by the Department of Human Development, and we have counselors on board. So I think the department has been in a position to reach out to students, because in a city like Mumbai, let me put it very forth, life is very difficult. Not only for parents, but also for students. So we have students, who have many issues at home. Maybe it's a marital discord, maybe it's some kind of abuse, maybe it's, difficulty, doing the housework, shouldering that responsibility and coming to college. So I think Human Development Department has done a brilliant job connecting with and that has pushed students to depression. And mental health issues have really emerged, and especially during pandemic times, we have seen many cases like this. So the mental health part has been really prioritized by our institution, and we've taken lead in mentoring, counseling these students. Archana is here, and she's the one who's leading that department. So that's another aspect of because these students also have to come in the forefront, and they also need to be given that confidence to take leadership roles. So I think these are some of the points, and I really appreciate, Dr. Deepali, what you said, that small little things, if you can award the students for, I think it's a brilliant suggestion. We would definitely, we have Best Dissertation Award, we have Best Innovation Award, we also have Earn While You Learn scheme, but picking up on 100% attendance award, or maximal use of library resources award.
Yeah. I think it doesn't really take much. It just takes one certificate, but it really gives a lot of confidence to the student.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that we're going to take back.
All of us should come and prepare a list of what is possible, and all of us should help. As you were saying now, the institute should interact. I think this is one platform. How we can better the student life in a college. I think, all institutes should come up together. And really, we will look forward to this kind of an interaction in the next SHAI.
Yeah, sure. And we can definitely make a checklist of all the possible awards.
I think I'll initiate it and share it, and I think everybody can add on. It would be really
definitely.
Yeah, I think the way the school education happens, that we would get stickers, and the number of stickers and smileys will tell you how good you are as a social person, as a friend. I think these are brilliant takeaways, and I'm thoroughly enjoying them.
Anjali, one more last point which I want to add to this conversation about students is that in our institution, during pandemic times, we felt physical inactivity was becoming rampant, and the students were feeling so, bogged down with just sitting in front of a screen. So that's where we brought in, virtual physical activity classes. And we roped in, we had an MOU with some, a very good organization who have young trainers, who make a small little movement, also very fun movement. And I think that really worked. And one period every day for every student, every batch of the student. And I congratulate my vice principal, Ms. Bhale Rao, and her team, how she fitted into their schedule. That every day, every batch of student had one period for this. And that started the ball rolling. And this time, we've placed this agenda in the academic council. I think Dr. Karolia is there. Wherein we want to now legitimize it. We want to give credit to this. And so we said, okay, let's do it only for the first year students in terms of mandatory kind of a thing. And here also, I think we can institute an award, the best, participation or something like that there. for this,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the holistic
One thing,
development.
and connect with all that I've heard with Deepali and with Jagmeet. Another thing that really helps with the students' growth, or the way they're learning, interest, something that creates a lot, like what she was talking about. The field trips to another place for 3-4 days, which also what we call as an educational trip in our. So every year we have one batch going. Means every year they need to do one. Also, another thing that's incorporated into all our 5 degree programs in all the 5 departments is the field work and internship in between in their last year. So I think that is another. Internship, of course, is shorter at the undergrad level. They only do 3 weeks, whereas at the master's level, they go in for a 6-week internship. But they have an internship program in all the disciplines, means all the degree programs. So that also helps, in consolidating whatever they have learned to put it into practice and that also is useful, and also gets them, the job employment. Like if somebody wants to stop after their undergraduation, they get a place to, and we don't insist that they have to go out of the town where they are at the undergrad, but post-graduation, they have to move out to, so I think these 2 things also, and also simple programs that you have throughout the year, to give you an example from the clothing and textile department, we have creations, which is their final line of design, which they put up as a ramp show, which is totally managed by the students. No outside agency coming in, including the modeling, the choreography, everything is done by them. And we have something called Kalakruti, which is a product development course. So that, brings in the entrepreneurial skills and things like that. And we have Hastkari, which is a field placement. Whatever they've taught them taught the communities in the field, they make, those products, and those are then sold in, which is a regular feature at and they get certificates for participating in these.
Yes, one point, since we have a lot of institutes here together, and many of us are undertaking these excursions, it would be really nice, if we can connect with each other and, our local areas, because we would know the in and out of those local areas.
Yeah.
And, we can collaborate and take the students together once in a while. Definitely. That would be interesting, if we can have people coming from Maharashtra, Gujarat to West Bengal and vice versa, then, that interaction would be really, really meaningful for all of us.
Sure. I think very good. Brilliant suggestion, Dr. Deepali. We would definitely, incorporate that.
Yeah. I think as teachers, we are trying to look at holistic development. We're looking at physical health, mental health. We're trying to provide them with experiential learning opportunities, field work. So my next stakeholder, which seems to be the most important now after talking about students, are the teachers and our faculty members in any institutions. So the teachers don't need to know the subject, but they also need to be good communicators. They need to be empathetic at all times, whether it's the family from where the student is coming from or any kind of academic challenges that they are facing outside the college. This teacher needs to be approachable. The teacher needs to be available always for all. Whatever the student has to share, the teachers need to be committed towards the holistic development here. But this will require not only development of academic skills, leadership skills, but some kind of supportive framework from an institutional point of view, whether it's in terms of resource allocation, staff training, skill development, opportunities for collaboration and mentoring. So I think I'll come back to Dr. Karolia and I'll ask you, ma'am, what kind of systems are in place in your institute to foster enhanced engagement and professional development among your teaching faculty or your teaching staff?
It's an extremely, I think that is something that each teacher, each one of us can relate to completely. I'm sure all the panelists and all the people who are here today on Zoom, will be thinking from their own this thing that as to what our institution is giving us. It's a very difficult question to answer, but as the leader or the dean of the faculty and having a strength of almost 100 staff members in our faculty, I think the first thing that I always, believe in is that this particular profession, if one has to get into, it has to be your first choice. Only if you always want to, because it's not like any other profession where you have a 9-to-5 job. It just doesn't work that way. Mainly because we are again related or connected with humans and their growth and their, what they will be looking at in the future, what they do in the future, how they will be, they are the future of the country. So we have to be like, it's an extremely responsible kind of profession that we are all in. And unless we ourselves are not committed to it, I don't think anything else would really work. Means we need to enjoy it. We need to enjoy that kind of feedback. It's like parenting, literally. Of after a certain age, I think they spend more time with us than they would spend with the parents at home. So we are the ones who are molding them for the future. So I think we need to look at it that way. As far as what we have in our, I can just share some of the things because I think one major thing that sets up is when it comes to your promotions, when it comes to your feedbacks that, your yearly annual reports that the university gives you, all your promotions, they will ask you for research output. They will ask you for your involvement in, what we call as the CAS or the, systems of stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 and so on and so forth. In our university, we definitely have to do faculty development programs, and we are given leave for that. 1 month in a year is, allotted for this. So if a teacher is wanting to go and do, right now, of course, they're doing it online, but otherwise, if there is a refresher course anywhere, and it is required for that particular teacher, we encourage them to go and take that up. We also have one very interesting something that helps a lot of our young teachers is a research grant of 1 lakh is what the university gives for any proposals, of course, after scrutiny, and they have to go through the whole process. But at the university level, we are given 1 lakh grant for a year to our teachers for research. So you can, because, for the young researcher staff members, it's very difficult to get these DSTs or UGC or minor research or major or any of these other kind of grants. So the university, gives about almost 40 to 50 grants per year to all the young staff members. Of course, they have to be permanent. That is another. So, in fact, yesterday I was looking at, when I was listening to how the ANA, the administration needs to be extremely, they have to be in support of the teachers. Unfortunately, of course, I think all of us know that because I think even yours is a state, it's a grant and aid, I think college, am I right? Or is it private? I don't know.
No, it is
grant and aid. Yeah. And so is ours. Ours is a state.
Dr. Karolia, ours is a completely non-aided college. So
non-aided. So you people will have more of, flexibility of how you want to appoint, what you want to. So that doesn't come into your.
Anjali, okay. Not like that.
So, but ours is a totally grant and aid. The whole university is a grant and aid university. And so, of course, we have to follow, and even the temporary positions don't get filled up. We are extremely short of staff for our programs are increasing, students are increasing. And so there is a lot of constraints that we all work under. But I think what we all need to just, what we keep doing is just patting each other's back. I think that is important. Giving each other the strength, helping each other out in, if within the departments, the heads, I think, play a very important role in keeping the staff, motivated. And as a dean, I suppose I need to keep that all the department heads are, also motivated enough to, and especially at this hour when we have the NAC coming in. So I think it is difficult, but there are some of these things that we do. We have a teacher supervisor, we have a dean of students, dean of sports. So, we give them all these different, and of course, the main committees. So, you get points for being on the committee also for your assessment. So I think these are some of the things that we are always doing. And of course, I think the most important is that, especially in the new normal, what people are calling now, the agility of the teachers, the adaptability of the teachers, the perseverance. I think this is what really needs to be brought out in our...
Yes, I think it has to be a combination of an institutional support, the individual motivation, perception, attitudes. And as you correctly said, all of us are in this profession by choice. And similar to any profession that anybody can be, we ourselves have to strive to do our best every day. And the moment we identify with that kind of a attitude and a perception, support will come and we will be able to make most of the opportunities that are coming our way. So I think
also the feedback or the love and the affection and the looking up to that you get from your students, I think that is the biggest reward for any of us. I know one get all our problems and all our, the extra hours that we have put in, I think just by that to...
No, it's indeed the noble profession that teaching has been made out to always be. Deepali, would you like to share some other thoughts in terms of teacher engagement, whether it's in scholarly research, whether it's in additional teaching administrative responsibilities along with your teaching responsibilities? It's always a tug of war between time and resources and your own personal professional life. So are there anything as a head of the institution you are doing for the teachers of your institute to help them bridge this gap?
Yes, Dr. Moitra, there's a slight difference because I completely agree with what Dr. Karolia just mentioned, that, it is a challenging job for all of us. Once we are a teacher, we are always a teacher. And a teacher generally doesn't have a fixed, 8-hour or a 9-hour job. It's like it goes on throughout the 24 hours. It may be at the middle of the night thinking about a student's research work. So when you enter in this profession, you have to first have a mindset that this profession is a kind of a service that you're doing to the society. It is not just a profession that you're entering and you get the package at the end of the month, and that's how it moves on. So definitely that mindset has to be there. Unfortunately, things are not moving in the correct direction in many of the institutions. Now, since both SVT and MS Baroda, they are under the state aid, they have certain challenges of their own, but then they do have certain advantages. You'll be very surprised to know that we are a completely non-aided institution, although surprisingly, we are covered under the 2F and 12B, that peculiar status we have. We had it right from the inception. So we are eligible to receive grants, but since the 10th plan period, we have not been receiving any grants. But everything is funded by the college, and you'll be very surprised to know that probably we would be the only institute probably in our city where all the facilities that is given to a government, college, teacher from a government college is provided to our staff. We have scales which are UGC. We have all increments which are given as per UGC norms. We have all revisions of pay scales done according to the UGC guidelines. We have CAS implemented. We have all the increments for PhD, MPhil given as per UGC norms. So everything is, and the additional benefit which people think that being an unaided college, we are unable to give a pension scheme. But you'll be surprised to know that is also being taken care of, because our provident fund is calculated on the gross salary, not on the basic, and it is an equal contribution from the employer. Then we have special allowances given to all the heads of the department, which is much, much higher than what UGC recommends. So there are, financial this thing. We have this award system for motivating faculty. So every year on Teachers' Day, we have a special ceremony. We actually also have 3-4 schools under the same management. So we have a ceremony of about 400-500 teachers, and everybody is awarded during the ceremony, not just with a trophy and a certificate, but a huge amount of monetary awards. So the best teacher in each department gets an award of 25,000 every year. It's not just a small amount. You publish any 2 papers in a journal during an academic session, but obviously it has to be the UGC recognized ones. You get an award of 8,000 rupees with a certificate and a trophy. You have contributed to the college in various activities during that academic year. You again get an 8,000 rupees award with a trophy. So you see, these awards are in place. We have allowances, we have all benefits, all kinds of insurances covered under various schemes for the staff, including the faculty. We also allow teachers to participate in seminars, and the funding for the travel, the stay, the registration is all borne by the teacher, by the college. So it's not limited, if you're presenting 2 papers in a year, you don't have to look for funds. The college will give you that fund to travel, to stay, your all other expenses, including the registration money. We give seed money for research work. Unfortunately, we have no takers to do that. And, recently we've been having issues with CAS. Nobody wants to apply for CAS because, they are getting all their increments, but they really are not very keen. We are giving them full leave as per the government norms to do their refresher and orientation courses. But we literally had to, kind of put in on paper to get them to do it. But now we've got about 6-7 teachers who've applied for CAS. But you see, even this doesn't really push them to get into this, because most of them want a cushy life, 5 to 6 hours of work, going home and not doing much. So it is a challenge for private colleges also. We cannot just throw them out or take action. It can't, because it has to be according to the labor laws and our service rules. But it doesn't really happen. So one effort, or I would say one initiative that I have recently taken, is to have interdisciplinary research done. So, what we are doing, the faculty members who are not in a position to take up much of research, we are involving them in research in other areas. For example, if it's a statistics area, so our mathematics teacher is involved in it, and we have joint publications coming out between departments. So that interdisciplinary department thing is something that we've recently, kind of come out with. We have another very interesting, we've taken up this initiative of peer teaching peer. So what we do, each department has their own exclusiveness, and they have certain things that they can share with the other department. So we are making, a faculty of one department take up small sessions under the FDP for faculties of the other department. So like the last one that we organized was, healthy eating habits with salads, organized by the nutrition department for the management teachers. So you see, we have a very renowned management course. So we had that done for the management teachers. And we had the human development faculty kind of giving a talk on how we can understand the students better and, use those tips to kind of improve relationships between teachers and students. So we are having all the features and the facilities in place. But what actually we feel is, that teachers have to also, as the Dr. Karolia has put in, we've got to understand that this is a profession which is not time bound. It is a profession which continues, and you've got to give in as much as you can to your utmost capacity. Motivation has to come from within. It can't just be motivation given through money and awards and all. If it's not coming from within, all these will become, meaningless. But yes, to keep them, pepped up, we have regular meetings. They are part of the committees, and every event, any event that we have in our college is actually coordinated by one faculty. So they conduct meetings, they prepare everything, and then the event is conducted. That involves students also. So we bring in participatory approach there.
Yes.
These are something, that I was wanting to share about what we do with our teachers.
Yeah.
And
I think they are excellent. And I'm so glad that all of our sessions are getting recorded, because there's so many points which are coming out that it's becoming difficult to jot it down. So we would always want to go back and hear these recordings, and then maybe have our internal discussions in terms of what we are already doing, what we can do a little bit more, and what perhaps we have not even thought about doing, and now we should try looking at these aspects. So I think this is the best part of this discussion, which is coming out in this seminar, is that we are using this platform to share our thoughts, to voice our concerns. And as you correctly mentioned, Dr. Karolia, Dr. Singhee, that it's a tightrope between institutional support and teacher accountability. And it's something which has to be handled individually. Nobody can do it for you. And I think that's something. In the line of the time, and that's because we have just talked about two stakeholders, and I can see there are 3, 4, 5 more stakeholders who also merit some discussion in this panel today. So I'll move on to our other stakeholders, and this time I'm going to talk about alumni. Very important, yet another important stakeholder, but to a certain extent, often an under-mobilized stakeholder that can actually bring to the fore all the requirements of an academic institution. While an active alumni association can contribute in several ways, whether it's academic matters, student support, development of resources, providing employability to the students, it's the institution's role to how to engage with the alumni, how to nurture these alumni associations, and then bring the best out of it there. So Dr. Madan, my question to you would be, according to you, what are some ways that we can overcome the bottlenecks when it comes to eliciting active involvement and partnership with alumni groups? And then maybe I'll ask Dr. Karolia to share some successful practices that you have done at your institute level to broaden the scope of engagement with the alumni groups. Dr. Madan, your thoughts, and then Dr. Karolia, yours.
Okay, thank you, Panchali. Before I move on to alumni, I think just one little bit aspect which I felt I should add to the teacher as a stakeholder. I completely endorse what everyone said, that a teacher is born from within. A teacher, like that flair, that commitment that has to come from within. And teaching is not a carpentry job. It needs that peace of mind, that stability to get that quality. You just cannot do it once. It's not like so mechanical. The quality doesn't come when you're stressed and when you have 100 things going on in your mind. You need that quiet time for yourself to be actually thinking of what you want to do, how you want to do. So somewhere I felt that with the new education policy, we as leaders can start thinking a little differently, that why can't we decrease the total academic content? Why can't we get in more experiential learning opportunities? Why can't we decrease the academic burden on the teacher, so that whatever is like a core course, which needs to be taught to the student, is done in the best formats, like we use different innovative methods of teaching them and get in a whole lot of students engagement, so that we strike a balance between it's not a monologue, it's more of a dialogue happening. These are my thoughts. I mean, I'm just voicing it because maybe at some point we'll realize it. The second thing which I really feel, that all of us should bank on this hybrid mode of teaching, which has come as a beautiful option for academicians. I think today, there was one stage when we were not prepared for taking technology, then we were pushed that you don't have a choice, you better learn, you have to be there. Today, in 3 years' time, I think pandemic, everything comes with a blessing. So I think in 3 years' time, a lot of 90% of the teachers are at least basic technology friendly, So what I'm trying to say now, I sit in a city like Mumbai, I completely empathize with a teacher who travels 2 hours one day, to come to college and teach, and again 2.5 hours to reach back home and her home responsibility. So if in a week, I can give that leverage to my teacher that, okay, 4 days you come, 2 days you work from home, we adjust our timetables that way, but then you do a brilliant job of whatever you are doing. That means, you prepare well for your classes, you have a teaching plan in place, you forget about just giving the academic content, think differently. That means what I'm trying to say is we give that time to the teacher so that there is quality coming in. It doesn't become a mundane job that say, oh, I have to take a class, I just pick up some slides and I take my class. So I think instead of that, if we start rethinking on what we are doing to ourselves and to our teaching, I think this is what I would like to place on record. Maybe we can deliberate how we can do it. See, because in every bouquet, there will be always people who will take undue advantage of any facility you give it. So that goes without saying, and they get identified also. So I think at this juncture, academicians they need to be trusted. I think the first thing is they need to be respected, they need to be trusted. And I think we earn our own respect because our respect comes from our own students. And today's students don't keep quiet. They will give you a very stark feedback of whatever you are doing. One way or the other, they will let you know, we are liking this, we are not liking this, right? Okay, now coming back to alumni, I think alumni are very, very important stakeholders. And to my mind, the student does not realize the importance of the institution till the time she becomes an alumni. I have seen this, that they don't even realize what all the institutions give them, till they reach a stage that when they have to leave the institution, and then they start reflecting that, I'm here because of the kind of training I got through my institution. So your alumni's, connect and ownership with the institute is stronger. I can say that it's stronger than, your present students, because they are the ones who have gone through the journey and they are facing the real world situation, and they can actually reflect and say that, I must, think of my alma mater, where I began my journey, and that's how I'm here. So that's the first point I want to make, that alumni always want to connect with the institution. It is the institution's, proactiveness, how much we want to engage with them. So, and engagement again has to be very personalized. I feel, just an email to an alumni doesn't work. So there again, it's the connect. I was telling Panchali the other day that, we as SVT have so many alumni global, like they are present all over the globe, all over the world. So I was even thinking that department wise, we should connect with all our international alumni, and make that vibe with them, understand what they're doing, how they're doing. Even if we can, impart that experience to our present student, I think we will achieve a lot.
Yeah.
And I have seen MS University Baroda organizing a lot of programs in the last 1 year. I think you've connected with a lot of your alumni abroad and hosted some very good programs. So I think these are the learnings which we must take. So international, and NEP also talks about internationalization of education. So I think the internationalization of education has to begin from your own alumni. So it's your alumni will probably lead you to so many collaborations, connect, research, exchange programs, whatever you may think of. So that's one point which I want to make here. And of course, the second important way we need to connect with our alumni are through the EIP model, the entrepreneurship model. I think they are the role models for the young students, to kind of emulate. And plus, they are the ones who are actually, in industry, in the real time situation. So engaging them with the entrepreneurship and placement or IIC cell, I think that's another opportunity where we should get a lot of alumni on board. And yes, for sure, they are all a part of our academic bodies. We do take their inputs in terms of our curriculum and everything. So that goes without. So these are some of my points.
Excellent. I think I totally relate with that. It's how the best we can take out of an alumni group. That's up to the institution and the committee here. Dr. Karolia, your thoughts? We know you have a very active alumni association. So what are some...
In our faculty, in fact, even in the university, in all the other faculties also, we've always had a very strong alumni associations that are there for every department. We don't have it just for the faculty, but every department has their own alumni associations also, and all registered alumni associations. So that's one thing that has always been very strong with our faculty, and how it has really benefited, with our like how it's benefited every department and how we use our connects with our alumni. Basically, one, of course, is the funding. We get a lot of funds through the alumni for the department's development. Like, just to give you a little example, I still remember way back in 94 when the computers, in the 90s, the computers had started coming into, into India. And our first computer lab in our department of clothing and textiles was set up by or donated by an alumni of ours. So, that's how we got the computers. Otherwise, getting this kind of infrastructure in the grant and aid colleges is a little difficult, but that is the way it was. And all our programs that we have, like I spoke about, creations, Kalakruti, Hastkari, any of these, they're all done through the alumni. So they help us out, the local alumni that's there in Baroda itself. So that is how we, connect with them. Also, one thing that we always do in all our departments, when we get an alumni to the department just to visit, sometimes, they come in to Baroda to, especially the outsiders, when they come to Baroda and then they want to come and see the department and the faculty, we always have a small interactive session with the students. So, they tell them about what their learning was and how they are placed now, how the education has helped them. This department education has helped them in achieving their goals, and things like that. So just a brief, 20-minute or a half-hour interaction. But they get to, we get them to some class and they will have an interaction with them. Yeah. Also, like what Jagmeet was just mentioning, we have a lot of, for when we have our placements at the end of the year for our final year students, we have these webinars. Earlier, of course, we would also have them coming to the faculty. But lately, of course, last 2 years, we've been having a lot of webinars, and that's how we've been able to connect with all our foreign alumni who are doing well across the globe and are at very strategic kind of positions. Somebody with WHO, somebody with Food India, somebody with started their own company in the US, or working with some big designers and so on. We've been having webinars to tell with our students to talk about their journeys as to how they have grown through the years. Of course, like some of them would be my like batchmates, and so that means about 40 years back they've passed out. So obviously they've reached some kind of what do you call it, place now in their journeys, in their whole careers. And so they become, like students get motivated when they hear of these people, when they read their profiles, when they look at what they have achieved, and somebody who's from their own department. So I think it acts as a big motivator for the students. And that's one thing that even for a career placement talks that we have with our students, we get some of the local alumni to come and talk to them, about what they are doing over there. So I think that is an important aspect. And in fact, we have 2 huge laboratories that were set up through the alumni funding. So I think that is an important.
No, thank you so much.
That we keep them on board. Because it talks a lot about your own departments and your own faculties.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's so many ways that alumni groups can actually act as the mediators of our institutional initiatives, whether it's driving startups, whether it's knowledge sharing sessions, whether it's globalization of our curriculum and drawing from their global experiences, or even engagement with the society. I would want to dwell a little bit more on alumni before I move. I know we are running a bit too short of time and there's so many things that we want to discuss. Maybe I'll keep the parents part for our next discussion, and I'll dwell a little bit more on the alumni because I am really enjoying the discussions that's happening here. Dr. Singhee, what are the bottlenecks in your opinion? I mean, there's so much that we can do, but yet we are not able to do as much as we want to do. So how are some ways that we may overcome these challenges of engagement? Because they are busy, they are occupied in their professional, personal commitments. And in a way, sometimes if they are not as involved or our engagement is not as active with them, they somehow try to get drifted apart or away from our institutions. So any thoughts, any experiences that you would like to share?
Dr. Moitra, thanks. And just one example before I give you some of the inputs that I think will help. In India, if you go back and check up the records, I think St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, is supposed to have the most efficient alumni in the country. Their alumni base is very, very strong. And as Dr. Madan was mentioning that, you have to have an international presence. They have over, I think, 25 or 26 international chapters, which are very, very functional. And their alumni base is who's who of Calcutta. Almost most of the industrialists are from that association. And it's a very active alumni because we are just about 3 kilometers away from them. So we keep a track. Now, what has been so successful about this particular college? This is definitely an opinion, which, is a very personal opinion, but yes, experience has told me this. I've been interacting with a lot of principals from all girls colleges. We do have a restriction on the alumni being active. Most of the girls colleges will have an issue. There could be several reasons for it, and maybe each one can kind of ponder over what is their challenges. But this is in general a trend, not just in India, but probably all over the world, where the all girls college or institutions do have a problem as far as the alumni is concerned. In St. Xavier's, we've also had our alumni members kind of raising this issue. In St. Xavier's, they have one very interesting concept, and that kind of makes their alumni even stronger. And that is, they have a system of the alumni serving the college for a minimum period of years. So they have about, I think, 2 or 3 years. So if a parent wants the child to get into the St. Xavier School, which is again one of the top rated schools, the parent who's an alumnus will have to work for 3 years in all the activities, and based on that performance, the child may be considered for admissions. These kind of concepts are there in many of the organizations to kind of boost up the participation of the alumni, or probably attract the alumni back to their alma mater. In our college also, there was a talk, and there have been students asking that, some seats can be reserved for the alumni children. We've been thinking about it, but we really haven't come to this conclusion whether that would be a good, way forward. What we've done recently in our college, we've tried to reach out to the alumni by forming various WhatsApp groups. So we have a WhatsApp group of every batch, and we've been connecting with them on a regular basis. And we've, as usual, have our annual alumni meets and all that. But one initiative which we recently took, and that happened with my batch because I'm the alumnus of the same college. So we took this initiative of, paying homage to our teachers. And one of the teachers is currently in coma, and, she's in a very critical stage. So we identified 2 of our teachers, and their recipes, which were standardized in our college, was published in the form of a book, which we released recently, and the entire funding was done by the alumni. And this was one initiative that we've taken. And the second one, which we've already worked upon, is, many of our alumni members are entrepreneurs, but not entrepreneurs, in the literal terms, in the sense that, they haven't got big organizations where they have set up and they're trading and, it's a big commercial success, nothing like that. But many of them are doing small things from their house. So, what we've done is we are creating a corner in the campus where they can display their products with their details. And, people who would wish to connect to them or order products can, just approach them and do that. That's something which is in the pipeline. Because of the pandemic, it's got delayed. But I'm sure once we reopen the college, we will do that. And regular career counseling sessions are held where students come in and they kind of motivate the children to move ahead. But alumni as such have to be given some kind of a space in their college so that, they can come back and they can work on what they want to do. Now, that's going to be a challenge with most ladies, most women, looking after families and not really having the time to take out. And I think we can, kind of thrash out and come out with what other colleges are doing. So, if we all come together, maybe we'll all find some solution to this problem. But yes, it is true that if it's generally women, all women, it is a challenge for us to, get the alumni to the campus. But alumni, coming in, giving talks, alumni coming and giving inputs, having exhibitions. We've had 3 very successful exhibitions in the past where the college had a kind of a fun fiesta hosted by the alumni. So each alumni was asked to put up a stall, and it was a 3-day affair. It was very successful. But, that kind of a thing, all colleges may not be able to do it. So I think this is something which I would wanting to put in. Before I end, I was one thing which I forgot to mention. This morning, I was, kind of browsing through the net, and I came across one very nice read which kind of says leadership in the classrooms. And there are 12 points mentioned how a teacher can become a leader on her own. I would share it with Dr. Moitra, and maybe you can forward it to their very interesting read. I'll just share that with you after.
Yeah, please do that. It will be an absolute...
I just forgot to mention that.
No, definitely. And I think at this moment, before I move on to the next stakeholders, I just want to appeal to all our delegates and attendees here that please feel free to put your questions, your experiences in the chat box, in the question answer session. All of us in the panelist group are not able to see, but our event is hosted on a huge platform, which is organized by our event coordinators and our event partners. So I would request all the attendees who are right now just listening to us to please feel free to interact with us, put your questions in the chat box, and our event organizers will actually put you into our panelist group, and we would love to hear your experiences also. So while we have another 15, 20 minutes of discussion, maybe you can start putting down your points and start writing it down there. The next stakeholder, which I would like to talk about, which is again very closely associated with alumni to a certain extent, are the employers. We take feedbacks from them, and it's a prerequisite for our NAC requirements. But what kind of feedback should we take from our employers, Dr. Madan, besides the feedback on the curriculum or the institutional practices which are right now taking? Because when we are talking about making our students industry ready, we need to know what the industry wants our students to come to them with. So what are the kind of competencies? How do we interact more with the industry partners, with the employers, with other skill sets which are required, which are more contemporary, so that our students are able to align with the dynamic needs of their employers? Dr. Madan, your thoughts on that?
So thank you, Panchali. I think the conversation of any institutional growth has to begin with the potential employers. I think that's where my mapping of my whole institution begins. So I need to see 5 years down the line where my students would be, if I'm offering this program. So this is the conversation which we have to have with all program coordinators, all heads of the departments, that, if we have made a program, which are the potential industries, potential organizations, NGOs. And to my mind today, employers are not only industry. It could be an NGO. We can even have our students socially ready for taking on responsibility, like how even we are thinking in terms of they becoming entrepreneurs. So somewhere, now the question is, how do we make this connect? So there are a huge number of things which we are already doing. See, first thing is that we always have professional experts on our academic bodies, on our governing bodies. We send our students for internship. We keep calling them for some, one-to-one interaction. And to my mind, what should happen is that every teacher, who's teaching a subject, when you're making your teaching plan, instead of just listing a visit or, to an organization, you can map a couple of potential employers to come and, have a conversation with the students. Like you have your conversations to understand what are the skill sets they are looking for. But let them come and talk to the students as to, what is the job profile if they join that organizations, what are the skill sets needed. And unless and until, there is a strong connect with the employers, I think this is again something which is continuous. We cannot stagnate, because what is relevant today may become redundant tomorrow. So I think this has to become an integral part of our planning of our teaching learning process. I think let's not wait for one academic council meeting or one governing body meeting. When I meet the managing director of one company who comes and spends 1 hour with me and talks about something which he feels relevant, I think during the entire semester, when you're teaching a subject, think of all possible, organizations with whom you think your students should have a liaison with. Not necessarily they would get employed by them, but I think if you, put it in your calendar, your checklist, that these are the people whom you should definitely interact. So whether you interact, whether you get them to talk to students, but this has to be a very, very progressive and an ongoing conversation. So that's point number one. And secondly, I think for us, Dr. Karolia and Dr. Deepali, internship is mandatory for every student. Like, they will not get their degree till they do their internship. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity to make closer connect with our employers.
Ours is all, Dr. Madan, ours is also mandatory. They have to do a 6-week internship and
Right.
8-week in PG. It's mandatory.
Right. Yeah. So this is also a very good opportunity when you can go deeper into, post the internship is over. I think one sharing session, with the potential, organizations where you sent your students, not only a sharing session with the students that they come back and tell you that what they did, but also one sharing session with all the employers where you sent the students, and take that feedback from them as to what they felt was really good, what they felt was not good. And of course, this needs to be formalized. This was also a NAC requirement that, internship, the whole process of internship should be formalized, starting from where you send them, what they do, and how they are assessed, and a formal feedback coming from the employer. But I think if you just send a feedback form, it really doesn't lead you many times. You may structure a feedback form, get it, but then have a sharing session with the employers as well. But this kind of constant dialogue is very, very important. And this cannot be only the responsibility of the principal or, the people who are sitting at the helm. According to me, this is the responsibility of every head of the department, not only head of the department, every teacher who is teaching a subject, because she is the master of that subject. She can think how my child is going to use this knowledge and which kind of environment she's going to be placed, So these are my thoughts. Yeah,
absolutely. I think planning, preparedness, and making it a regular affair of interaction is very important, because, as you correctly said, it's a very dynamic area and it keeps changing. So you cannot just have one event a year and then assume that that would make the students ready to go into the practice here. Dr. Karolia, again, 2-3 points. Anything that you want to highlight?
No, I think I second exactly what Jagmeet, that's exactly what was in my thought also, and what we do over here. And like she says, like for us also, internship is mandatory. You have to put in, I think it's 8 weeks at the master's level, and 3 weeks twice at the undergrad level. So that is a must. The interactions are always there. We have a particular format in which we, take the interaction. And also we get a feedback from the employer as to wherever the student has gone, as to what they found lacking or found good about the student. Like, to give you a simple example, a few years back, I remember, this must be quite some years back, and I think it must be almost a decade maybe, but we realized that when our students at the undergrad level were going for internship to any of these design industries, we were teaching them CorelDRAW and Photoshop over here, till we realized that what they were using there was Illustrator. So immediately, we had to change our course and, put that into, because that is what was coming at that time. Now, of course, it has moved further. So, so whatever feedback we do get from them, we try and incorporate that into our next board and change our curriculum accordingly to the, so this interaction has to remain. If we want our students to be taken up by the industry and, make them job ready, I think that is an extremely important part of, any institution to take this kind of feedback from their prospective employers and see that we incorporate that into our teaching here.
Correct. Absolutely. I totally agree with all these points. Dr. Singhee, besides internship, besides career guidance or interactions, what are the kind of placement events do you hold in your institution so that the students actually get the job that they're looking for, or when they started their education, they had a dream job, and how do you facilitate that process here? Maybe 2-3 pointers on that, Dr. Singhee.
Deepali, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I said, since there's very little time, I'll just give you a couple of points. We have a very active placement cell with, 2 placement officers appointed. So at the beginning of the 5th semester, students have to fill in their placement forms, kind of giving us a direction on which area they would want the placement to be. We do look out for placement for campusing. The companies visit the campus and they conduct interviews or the normal process. And even off-campus placements are provided. But especially for the courses which are aligned to the home science program, the 4 streams that we have, all these students, while they are interning, they are mostly absorbed. So there is hardly any student who is left out after the internship. So, and during the internship, we have a very well-designed feedback form, which is a kind of an assessment sheet, which is confidentially sent to the employer. And those sheets are collected by the college directly. And that kind of gives us a feedback of what the employer thinks and there are areas that needs improvement. So that's the kind of a feedback which is regularized. And those sheets are shared with the student. So a copy of that sheet is given to the student as a certificate for her internship, because internship carries 100 marks for us. So it's an important paper. And the students also have to prepare a report, give a presentation. There's a viva voce held for internship. So we do keep a track on that. Teachers do a kind of, surprise visits to see whether things are moving in the correct directions and things like that. But as far as placement is concerned, the students apply, but, the challenge that we are facing, as I mentioned to you, Dr. Mitra, that is, you see, we have students coming generally from the elite backgrounds. We do have first generation learners also, but most of our students, they're really not looking for placement. So we've had cases when, big companies like Wipro, Godrej have offered, and they've been, kind of knocking on our doors regularly, but the children are not wanting to take up the placement after being selected. So that's the kind of challenge that we are facing now. But, they apply for the placements, they go in for the in-house campusing interviews, they get selected, and then they back out. So that's the kind of challenge we are facing. Great. And some of the, well-known companies coming into our college, is in each field, we have a very good list of companies and a very active placement set. So students can't really complain that we've not been placed.
Oh, great. I think these are very valuable inputs. And to a certain extent, all of us are on a similar platform and we are doing similar kind of initiatives at our own academic institutions there. I would love to have this discussion go on, but I can see we have our next session chairs and next session panelists already with us here. I'll just invite my colleague, Ms. Himani Malhotra. I can see her in the attendee list. Have we missed out, Himani, on any stakeholder? Because she's the criteria head for institutional distinctiveness and criteria 7, and she works very closely with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders at our college. So, Himani, would you like to share some points which we may have missed out and something which you think is very critical for the success of any academic institution? Yeah.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Panchali, for that question. And I feel that, yes, student is a primary stakeholder for any HEI, because all processes related to higher education institutions, be it teaching pedagogies or assessment strategies and many other things, are kind of, revolves around the student as an important stakeholder. But I still feel that checking the criteria 7 of the NAC, I feel that another stakeholder which I think is equally important is the community, which is also very strongly highlighted in the new NEP 2020, where I think HEIs need to bridge the gap between the academia and the community services, because criteria 7 talks a lot about inculcation of values, and I think when we talk about experiential learning, I think a lot of it can be learned by hands-on experience of the students working in the community. When we talk about tolerance, empathy, and other values that student needs to inculcate in their holistic development. When we talk about holistic development, I feel engagement in the community is also equally important. And I'm very proud to say that at SVT, we are doing, besides the strong NSS activities that we have, we also have a lot of community engagement activities where each department, based on the kind of skills and which we can impart in the community, we plan a lot of activities, and students are a part of it. Definitely they are mentored by the departments, because that's the kind of hand holding the college gives to the students. But I feel that community as a stakeholder, though they are an external stakeholders, but then they play a very important role when you talk about a holistic development of students. So, and that's also very
Absolutely.
strongly highlighted in the NEP 2020.
True, true, very true. I think we missed out
And I
on one
think
of.
the field work that we spoke about, what we call as field work, or the community placement of, which is also an integral part of all the 5 departments, which all students need to go for. I think that is where, this particular part is taken care of by,
And that's a part
and
of
also to
learning
give you
process.
another
Yeah.
very simple example for which we have a lot of MOUs with different NGOs around over here, where we go and give our services. Also, another one which we had was with the craft sector in Kutch. We have Sumaya. In fact, that's how I remembered this one in the morning. We had the Sumaya Trust, where our students every year go and do a co-design with, so they stay with the artisans at, in Bhuj, and stay with them for 21 days and do a co-design project with them. So I think that is another way of, teaching the students to be grounded, teaching the students to have respect for, every individual, teaching them about just exposing them to the kind of life that people have, and respecting that. I think the most important is the respect that we need to have for every individual.
I think
Absolutely.
I'd like to add here, Himani, Panchali, and Dr. Karolia, exactly what was reiterated by Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan and our Vice Chancellor in our inaugural address, that it's not that when we go to a community that we are teaching them. I think we are learning so much from them. And so that's where you go with that open mind, and go with that respect for that individual. And and that is where this kind of the values which Himani is talking about. So it's not just doing a community outreach program, but I think identifying with that community, and developing that kind of respect, empathizing with what they go through and how they have learned that craft, or what all things they do. So because this kind of connect with the community needs to be emphasized when the students engage with the community. So I think that's the point Himani is also trying to make, that building up of good values also has to be a perspective which has to be kind of reiterated into the students when they go for such activities or programs.
Yes, I totally agree. I think it has been a very fruitful, very successful, very enriching discussion. I have made my points, and maybe towards another, I'll take a couple of questions which are there in the chat box, and then I'll invite some questions from our delegates, and I'll try to read out what points and key takeaways I have not noted down, though I will require to go back to the readings and recordings and make sure that I just look at some more points which may I have missed out there. There's a question, Dr. Singhee here, maybe I would request you to answer this one. The question is that on virtual mode or a hybrid mode, which has become a necessity right now, how do you motivate both the teachers and the students to be a little bit more engaged? Because classroom teaching and hybrid teaching are two different ball games. The pedagogies are a bit different. The way you interact is a bit different. There are several ways and innovative technologies. We're talking about gamification. We're talking about different ways of interaction with the students. But how do you keep the motivation levels high? So some thoughts on that, Dr. Singhee?
this is going to be very challenging, especially from the side of the faculty, because, getting somebody who's not present in the class engaged, at the same time keeping the children present in front of you engaged, it's definitely challenging. But yes, I think, if there are very clear-cut guidelines on how students should behave and how they should, kind of attend the session, that will go a long way in helping the teacher understand their needs and, kind of take it up in a more engaging manner. And these hybrid mode lectures should be not just one way, it should be a two-way traffic, which will definitely go in a long way in making them more interesting and bringing the students to the class. And, the interactions or, some kind of a surprise element that the teacher can throw up during her sessions, the hybrid sessions, will also kind of, get the students to the classroom, because they would not be knowing exactly what's going to happen each day. But the teacher has to be a little innovative in making them a little engaging. But of course, it is a challenge. This is something which I think we will gradually grow up with and come up with more solutions as well.
It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve. And if it's becoming a necessity,
we don't have to go towards it and we get back to our normal and no more of the new normal, because the institutions don't feel the same without the students in them. Means that is my personal, and it just doesn't feel like we're going through the NAC cycle now, but like with the whole institution empty, it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't. I don't think the teachers are as motivated. We're not on our feet because we don't have the kids in college.
Yeah.
So that.
Yeah. I think that atmosphere is.
I think it's very, very important to. So let's just hope and pray that all of us get back to our normal now.
I think that noise is something. Yeah, I think the noise, the classroom, and then you're trying to keep everybody quiet and make them listen to
exactly.
you. Those are the amazing parts of being a teacher, right? Which we are missing at the moment. I can see Dr. Rajeshri Shinde has raised her hand. Dr. Shinde, do you have a question for our panelists?
Yes, Panchali. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And first of all, I would like to say that the entire panel discussion was so fruitful and many ideas emerged out of it. And I think collaboration with many institutions and sharing our ideas will further strengthen our quality systems. My question is how can we involve parents into the entire academic process? They are also they are also very important stakeholders, but when it comes to HEI and the curriculum, as such, how their feedback would be appropriate to consider for curricular development? Because mostly what I realize, they are many students only fill up the feedback on behalf of their parents, or many parents don't even understand what we actually want out of those questions. So how we can structure and which aspect of an academic institution can be considered where we can rope in parents as a stakeholder?
Yes, I think very good question. I'll keep it to the panelists, whoever wants to answer it. Dr. Karolia, yes, please go ahead.
Actually, I had this little talk with I think Panchali the other day, when I truly agree that, exactly what Rajeshri, you were saying, that how do we involve the parents, and, whether it is the curriculum or how would they be, contributing to it. I really don't, I know NAC does have this thing of the parent, feedback also as a part of it. I know that, but somewhere I feel where the parents actually, I'm talking from personal, my own feedback about it, where parents really do play a part is when we have certain slow learners that come into our system. And or if there are, some kind of issue as far as some kind of a physical handicap or some kind of any other issues that parents might be having. So the interaction with them in that and what kind of a feedback they give you, I think that is where their contribution to the institution is most important. Like in our, to give you a few examples, just lately, in the last year, we've had these about 6 parents who we've been interacting with. 2 of them are with slow learners. They have an autistic child, and we have 2 of them who are there in the department. Another one who is undergoing a little bit of a psychological or a depressive kind of this thing. So, we are in constant touch with the parents and with the advisors with them. And as to how the teachers are interacting with them, we also have this little meeting with all their course teachers to tell the advisors basically get in touch with them that this is what the problem is with the child, and to, how one should be handling this particular, and especially with this online systems that are going on. So it becomes even more difficult, to handle them at that stage. So I think at that level, parents definitely do have a role to play for their, but otherwise, I think the basic feedback, because whatever you may say, who we are handling, unlike what you have in school education, is that we are handling adults. They are adults who are with us. So they should be responsible for themselves, and they should be in so parents have little, I feel, as far as higher education goes, to play a part in, but definitely a feedback for the general as to what they feel their child has achieved, or how the child has grown through those years of when they were with the institution. I think that way maybe we could look at it.
Yes.
But as far as curriculum and all goes, I don't see much of a
involvement
there.
Yes, I think I totally resonate with these things. I mean, it is important that we involve parents, but as an institution, we have to decide which are the areas and practices where we would get the best out of the parents' inputs. There are 2 questions. I'll just quickly take it before we wrap it up here. One question is from Dr. Rahul Mena, and he asked, can anyone suggest about online internship programs if they're available? I know there are several of these MOOC platforms where the students can get their educational resources, but anybody, if you would know about online internship programs, Dr. Singhee, Dr. Karolia, Dr. Madan, and maybe the panelists from our next session, Dr. Mehrotra, we would love to hear from you as well, if there are any thoughts on this.
Okay, Panchali, I'd just like to reflect on this question. Yes, internship has been very challenging in pandemic times, and you just cannot, I underline the word cannot, give the real physical, experience to a student virtually, however we may try. So I think it pushed all of us into some innovation mode to kind of come closer to what actually a physical internship would be in different disciplines. And I want to give one example about the field of clinical dietetics, wherein students are sent for 6 weeks and they work in a clinical setting with, the dietitians, with the patients. They have case studies, and, it's a very, very important experience for a student who's getting trained in the field of clinical nutrition. So, it's like this kind of an opportunity becomes a commercial business for people. So that's when, I actually had a conversation with somebody from MS University of Baroda, and she said that so-and-so person is wanting to offer this 8 weeks program for a payment of this kind of money. So I immediately went and looked up the profile of that person. And so that's when, being the national president of Indian Dietetic Association, I went back to the RD board and registered dietitian board. And I said, hey, I mean, this is an opportunity when all of you professionals can come together and actually plan a module which is closer to, a virtual clinical dietetics internship. And believe me, they all put their minds together, and we planned a module called Adhyay, as a virtual internship module. And we had more than 500, and I think the MS University students were the first takers, because we gave them the preference, because all of them had a timeline to finish. But we had more than 500 students who came in and registered. And it was a beautiful module which has already now got standardized, and it's here to stay, which had everything what a student is expected to learn during clinical internship, dietetics internship. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, there aren't any ready solutions for all the fields in which our students specialize. But these 3 years of pandemic has resulted in a number of innovated formats. And I think maybe at this stage, it is institutional. It has not become national, because I think all of us, like what I'm speaking about is for the Department of Food, Nutrition and Dietetics. But I'm sure other specializations also tried to do their best to come closer to what skill sets are obtained during internship. So yes, if that answers your question.
Yes, I think what you said is correct. When there is a need in the market, there would be services, there would be products which would be there. And now there seems to be a need for online teaching, hybrid teaching, blended teaching formats. So I'm sure there would be several of these capacity building programs. At the same time, resources and opportunities where both students and faculty can benefit from them. Just taking on the parent point, we have had a comment who is, I'm assuming, an academician and also a parent, which all of us are. And it's suggested that, yes, for a pre-primary level or a primary level, parents do play a very integral role in the education of a child. But whether the parent inputs are required or feedbacks are required in an HEI is something that the academic leaders and the administrative staff needs to take a call on. So thank you so much for that feedback, Rajashri. And there was one more question on employers' feedback. But Dr. Bellamai, we have already taken that question and we are running a little short of time. So I would invite everybody who has any more questions to please write to us. Our email IDs are already there on our brochures. And I take this opportunity to wind up this amazing panel discussion. I have made 3 pages of notes and I'm going to make 3 more after I go back to the recordings. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this sharing session, and heartfelt thank you from all of our sides, from our college, from our organizing committee. Thank you so much. And we look forward to many such, and maybe an educational retreat for us together where we spend some time together, 6 days, 5 days away from a college environment, and just spend time interacting, knowing each other, and getting the best out of what we are doing at our own institute levels here. So thank you so much.